Qu'est-ce qui se passe tout le monde? 450 le podcast. Ici Jado, Matt. On est à 450 Jiu-Jitsu. We're at 450 Jiu-Jitsu. We have Brandon Reed in the house.
The big dog in the house.
We have my father in the house.
Oh, the biggest dog. The biggest.
We have my dad in the house. Let's shout out the sponsors first of all. 450 Jiu-Jitsu. If you're looking to train Jiu-Jitsu, we have two locations, one in Terrebonne, one in Laval. High-level Jiu-Jitsu, we train hard, we're very technical, we take a lot of pride in investing in our students in our academy. So if you're looking to try something new, if you're an active competitor, if you're a hobbyist, if you're anybody and you're looking to get into Jiu-Jitsu, 450jiu-jitsu.com, 450jiu-jitsu.com, book your free trial and come through. Second sponsor, Frontline Conditioning, James Togg. Look at these biceps.
Dang.
Woo! Straight from James Togg. The best strength and conditioning program in Montreal, catered to every single athlete, whether it be football, soccer, basketball, and it's specifically Jiu-Jitsu. He trains a lot of Jiu-Jitsu athletes, so shout out to James Togg. He's like none other, pays a lot of attention, always checking in on you, always changing the program, making sure to adapt to your own goals. So shout out to James and Frontline Conditioning for all your strength and conditioning needs. We have the Geometry Broker, Georges Mitrier, my best friend, the best real estate agent on the island. If you're looking to invest, if you're looking to buy, sell, whatever the hell you want to do when it comes to real estate, Georges Mitrier is your man. He's a hardworking kid. He's
Coffee.
yeah. If you want coffee, go to Tim Hortons.
The fourth sponsor, Tim Hortons, Laval.
Not for long. Not for long.
But let's not forget only people.
And the one and only One Jiu-Jitsu.
One Jiu-Jitsu.
So shout out One Jiu-Jitsu.
On a eu Johnny hier sur le podcast. Il nous a annoncé que la gang de Magog allait faire
un gala. Yeah.
Au mois de juin.
Yep.
Toujours une production extraordinaire.
La meilleure production, la production la plus professionnelle au Québec. On va prendre un petit 2 minutes pour parler en français de One Jiu-Jitsu à Magog. Un gros événement. Shout out Steven McClure. Il me supporte depuis le début de ma carrière. C'est un très bon ami. Très bonne personne. Très beau gym aussi à Magog. C'était à Magog et tu veux train, make sure you go check him out. Magog Jiu-Jitsu. Steven McClure, c'est un black belt qui est très technical.
C'est le même événement que l'année passée, non?
Il y a 2 ans quand
Oui, 2 ans.
Puis si vous allez checker, moi on vous conseille d'aller checker le gala parce que c'est une production incroyable. Puis si vous allez à Magog, prenez 2 jours, amenez votre femme, amenez votre famille, c'est une belle ville.
C'est incroyable.
Louez une petite chambre d'hôtel, sur le bord de l'eau, les montagnes. C'est une ville extraordinaire.
Ouais. Puis, yeah, that's pretty much it for the sponsors. That being said, what up, Brandon?
What's up?
Yeah.
What up, my boy? How are you, bro?
I need to learn some French.
Nah, it's good. You're chilling, bro. I told you Duolingo. Here we have Brandon Reed, national champion in wrestling, purple belt world champion, wrestling coach at 450 Jiu-Jitsu on Tuesdays at 7:15.
What a year for Brendan Reed, 2024,
Yeah.
What a year.
Yeah, great year.
How should that happen?
80cc competitor, world champ,
Pans.
pants. Yeah, bro, a lot of shit
I want a
happened.
naga.
Yeah, you want a naga? Careful with that word. Well, not.
Oh, that's crazy.
Me and Brandon have had a relationship for quite a while now. I'd say like over a year and a half.
Yeah, I can't even remember.
Me too. I don't remember when's the first time I met him, but ever since we started training together, I think we just haven't stopped training.
Where do you met? Where did we?
Where did we meet? I think it's through Katie, bro. If I'm
I
not.
feel like it was through Katie.
And
Because
then
you
we-
trained at Carlson or
No,
Mizu?
I used to train at Mizu. His girlfriend is Katie, and I used to train at Mizu, and Katie used to train at Mizu.
Yeah.
And we competed against each other at a local event in Montreal.
Never happened.
Yeah. Yeah, we competed. We went to a draw. And, I lost, whatever. But we competed against each other, and after we competed, he came up to me and we started talking, and he was
We
like,
had
"Yo."
just opened the gym.
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
just opened the gym, and Brandon was like, "Yo, I really want to train with you," and I was like, "Yeah, me too. I want to train with you." So we met at a competition at SAU in Montreal, and I think maybe a month and a half later, me, Matt, and you, we met up with Katie
I
at
think
a
we
cafe.
heard that you were coming to move here.
Yes.
We got super excited. Like, oh shit.
Yeah, and that's what
We
he
need to
had.
have him, as part of the team.
Yeah.
You told me at the competition that you're moving to Montreal, and we linked up. We
Went
saw
to grab
that.
coffee.
You already moved, or you still in? Yeah, I moved. I moved here last. I think next week will be 1 year living in Montreal.
Oh,
So it's coming up on my 1 year anniversary of Montreal.
Yeah.
And tell us more about that.
Celebrate.
How come you moved to Montreal? Was it because of your girlfriend, or how did the whole thing happen?
Because he lived in Louisville.
Yeah. So I lived in a city that was a lot smaller than Montreal. We have like, I think we looked at the numbers. If you just, not considering Greater Louisville, but like Louisville Central, it's 400,000 people. So it's still a pretty big city. But there wasn't much Jiu-Jitsu, and there's not many young people who were doing Jiu-Jitsu. When I came to Montreal, my girlfriend was here. I would just train around. I went to Homa a couple of times. I went to TriStar. I went to Mizu. Obviously came to 450, 10th Planet, and I was just like, man, there's young people everywhere here.
And good jiu-jitsu.
And good jiu-jitsu. And so like, my goal was to move to a city where I didn't have to consistently travel to train. Now, obviously for camps and stuff, I still travel, but in general, 90% of my training is in Montreal, and it was an easy choice to move here because I was kind of getting, I would say, frustrated with my lack of ability to train with people around my age. You know, I love my old gym. I love Chewy. He knows this. I've said this to him, so it's not like a secret. But in Louisville, most of the people that train were older. You know, so I didn't.
Obvious.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas like in Montreal, it's like I can go to pretty much any gym, and there's going to be at least one guy who's like a tough blue belt. Where like if I'm preparing for competition, I can actually do like a round where I'm getting some cardio in, and then. Bro, the food in Montreal? Are you kidding me? I went downtown. Like the first time I came to Montreal was 3 years ago, around Christmas, and it was, for me, everyone hates the winter. I loved it. I came here, I saw the downtown with all the snow, and where I'm from, there's a snowstorm like once a year, and you hate it because there's not like a downtown and stuff, so you're just trapped in your house. Here it was like, oh, you can kind of enjoy the snow. Like you can walk around downtown, eat a bunch of like random good food. And I was just like,
we're also used to snowstorms, so the infrastructure is there.
Oh my God.
The streets get
swept. Yesterday, right now there's a snowstorm in Kentucky, and there's, I don't know like the measurements in Canada, but it's 7 inches. And so, I mean.
Everything shuts down.
Everything shuts down. Everything's still shut down. It's like day 3 of it, right? But like I told you,
Because they don't have like winter tires. They don't have.
They don't have.
Not used to it.
When I lived in Texas, bro, it was like that. But when we were in Texas, it snowed half an inch.
Yesterday there was like a 10-car crash on the highway in Kentucky, and you're like, you idiots! Why are you on the
Kentucky?
Louisville, Kentucky.
Yeah, Louisville, Kentucky, and you're like, you idiots! Why are you on the highway? And there's no infrastructure. There's no one cleaning the roads. There's no salt. There's nothing. There's no snow tires.
And I'll say this: if you're born in a country like Canada or Montreal, and you were raised driving in winter, it's a skill that takes time to learn. If you've never driven in winter, it's very difficult.
It's a skill.
We're saying this, but he's a master drifter.
Yeah.
He's a
rally champion.
drifter.
No, but he also drove taxi for like 20 years here.
True.
So
Yeah.
he drove. He got used to the roads very.
But it's a skill that you need to learn.
Yeah.
Because it's difficult.
Yeah, it's cool because like being here for a year, I got pretty good at actually driving in the snow. Also having snow tires and then just
That's it. When you have snow tires, you're like 60-70% in the safe side.
Yeah,
Yeah,
You
for
just
sure.
need to practice. That's it.
Yeah, I used to have like anxiety attacks. Like when I first saw the snow.
Especially when you brake. When you
Yeah.
come close, you get.
Yeah. And I didn't know because in Kentucky, no one has snow tires, and when it snows, they say do not go outside. Now in Montreal, you need to go. Like you need to get out.
It's snowing 7 months in the
Yeah,
year. Bro.
so
How can you not go
yeah,
outside?
you have to get out, so you have to learn. So I think, you know what's funny? I think moving to Montreal made me a better driver. I really do. Because now there's lots of idiots here, because any big city has a bunch of idiots, you know? But learning how to drive, coming to Montreal, I wish I would have started driving here.
Yeah.
If I could...
Didn't drive yet.
No. I started driving.
He started driving in Kentucky,
Yeah,
but he's saying he wished he started driving in Montreal because it would have made him a better driver.
I wish I would have...
driving here.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, I drive.
So how do you think he got here from downtown?
I don't know.
Yeah. So I have a car.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. But I started driving 11 years ago. So when I was 16, I started driving. Because in Kentucky, everyone starts
How old
driving.
you are?
20. I'm about to be 27.
27, it's the same age.
Yeah. It's crazy, bro. We're both old. You're a young guy. We're old. It's crazy.
I'm 61, man.
Ah, 16. That's great.
16 after 50.
Yeah, but
And for those of you who don't know, Brendan used to train with Chewy.
Yeah.
And Chewy's pretty well known in the jiu-jitsu community.
Yeah.
What's his real name?
Derby City.
Nick Albin.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to say that. Albin. That's a hard word.
But Chewy Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, Jiu-Jitsu.
Jiu-Jitsu. He's got, I think, a
YouTuber,
podcast,
yeah.
YouTuber, famous gym.
Derby City MMA, right? That's what
It's
it's called.
the biggest gym in Louisville. It's definitely like the best gym in Louisville.
For sure.
Yeah, and then in Kentucky, it's probably, I'd say it's the best gym in Kentucky too. It's pretty good.
He's done MMA too, right? He's done MMA.
Yeah, he had like 5 or 6 MMA fights, won all of them, and then he just quit after.
Jiu-Jitsu's more fun.
Yeah, well, he started doing MMA when he was older too. I think he was like 30 when he had his like first fight, right? So I think he was like 28 to 230, like something around there, where he had all of his fights, and then he was just like, I'm getting older, And he was competing a lot in Jiu-Jitsu in the gi, specifically. So he was like, I'm just gonna compete, and then his YouTube started to like blow up in the midst of his like MMA stuff. So no one cared about his MMA. So he was like, I'm just gonna quit this and focus on Jiu-Jitsu, and then obviously he ended up having a really successful business with his podcast, his gym, his YouTube. So MMA didn't really make any sense for him anymore.
He's a very likable person.
Oh yeah, he is. He's a very strange guy too. He has
to
like.
go to MMA, to go to UFC, you have to do MMA
Yeah.
and Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
Yes.
Technically.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's nobody in the
There's
UFC.
people, when I watched the episode, I saw people coming from judo, coming from kickboxing, coming from different kind. But as I understand what he said, you have to best way to go to do MMA than go to UFC.
Yeah.
MMA is
MMA
all
is
the
a
combat.
sport.
Art, I know.
It's all the combat sports.
It's its own sport.
Yeah. So,
MMA, it's its own sport. So like, there's things in jiu-jitsu, in like sports jiu-jitsu, that you wouldn't do in MMA.
That's what I mean.
But there's things in jiu-jitsu that you would do in MMA.
But always when they gonna give the history of any fighter on UFC, the first thing they said he's a black belt on Jiu-Jitsu.
If he is a black belt.
If he,
But some
or
guys come
brown
from a
belt.
wrestling background. They don't
Yeah.
have much jiu-jitsu experience, but the wrestling compensate for the
Because
jiu-jitsu.
I watch a lot, and I watch those people. They have background of Jiu-Jitsu. They have more advantage directly to the other.
So the
player.
theory behind this is, if it's not necessarily jiu-jitsu, I think it's grappling. If I have
grappling.
a better grappling than you, I can dictate where the fight goes. Which means like if I'm better, sometimes yeah, unless I
Sometimes
get knocked
you
the
get
fuck
beat.
out. Yeah, unless you get knocked the fuck out. But
yeah.
if I'm a better wrestler than you, I can decide if we stay on our feet or if we go to the ground. So
Apparently, each punch you get, you drop a belt.
yeah,
so if you're a black belt,
if you're a black
you
belt
get
in
punched
jiu-jitsu,
once.
5 punches, you're a white belt.
it only takes one for me, bro. I'm out.
And you, let's go back to the roots. So you're from Louisville, from Kentucky, single mother household.
Yeah.
Single mother household. So growing
Brothers,
up,
sisters.
Yeah, I have 2 sisters and an older brother. Yeah, my mom, she basically like would work at like restaurants or bars my whole life. So she always worked at like nighttime. But yeah, single mother, no.
I didn't even know you had siblings.
Yeah. I have 3 siblings. Older brother, he's in the army. My sister, she is like a bit of an entrepreneur. And then I have a little sister who's in high school. So
Wow, well that's a big family.
yeah, it's huge. It's
And single mother.
single mother.
that's
4
tough.
kids.
4 kids. Yeah, my dad left. Like I was born, and then like my dad left. Like I think like a month after I was born.
Wow.
He just dipped. Yeah.
Have you ever had an interest looking for him?
No. I met him when I was like 12 or 13. I guess hung out with him like once or twice when I was like 12, 13-ish. But then like after that, I was just like,
What are we doing here?
what did we do? It was awkward, you know?
Yeah.
Like you start to like think about those things and you're just like, why? Like you're a piece of crap, bro. Plus he beat my mom up and stuff. And as I got older, that stuff would come out that he was very abusive, and that's the reason we broke up. And so.
And it's like values-wise, right? You're sitting across
Yeah.
a man that left your whole family.
Well, yeah,
to fend
exactly.
for themselves.
That's it. It's like he left, and then obviously he was beating her, and then he actually went to jail when I was like 6 or 7 because he slept with an underage girl. And so the dude was.
Okay, so a complete piece of shit.
Yeah, and all this stuff started to come out. Like randomly one day, me and my brother got a letter in the mail from him, and it's like, hey, I'm in jail. I went to prison because
Congratulations.
Yeah. He was like, I went to prison because I went to a bar and this girl was hanging out, flirting with me, and then it turns out the girl was like 16 years old. Somehow got into the bar, he slept with this girl, and then he went to jail for a couple of years. And but
16 years.
Yeah, it's crazy. And he was, at the time of this, he was probably already 34, 35, so yeah, so woman abuser, pedophile, Jesus.
How old is he now?
Probably 45-ish. 46 maybe. Something like that.
Not too old, huh?
No. Well, my mom had her first kid when she was 15. 15 years old.
Back in the old days, huh?
Back in the old days. So it was very...
Is that your older brother?
No, my older sister.
Okay.
So where I come from, it's like, it's very poor.
Yeah.
And when I say poor, it's poor. Like, it's very poor. So growing up, like, now I'm like, I think it's the psychology is like when you're poor, you go for something that's easy to make you feel good. And I think kids back then were just doing a lot of drugs. They were having sex. And she'll even talk about it now.
They want to need to change.
Yeah, that's it. They just want
anyone comes first one in, first one out.
Yeah. So it was like, she'll say, my mom's an amazing woman, but she'll say, like, you get into the instant feedback.
How old she's?
Now I think she just turned like 45.
Nice.
Yeah.
Same age almost.
Yeah, exactly. She just turned 45.
Imagine
Yeah.
a couple 15 years old having a baby.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Couple. Not he's 20 and she's 15.
Yeah.
Or he's 22 or 23.
Yeah. It's normal. Where
15, man, both of them.
It's really normal where
Yeah,
I'm
and
from.
the kids raise a baby.
And it's also like when you come from an area that's poor, it means less education, and it's like contraceptive and all that.
They have
don't
nothing.
know.
They have nothing, and it's crazy because I'm coming from Louisville, so everyone thinks that the only bad cities in the U.S. are like Chicago or somewhere in California, but you're like, no, there's most of the U.S. like the ghetto. It doesn't just compile of all the stuff you see in gangster movies. The ghetto is the place where it's like these really poor families. No one's making over. If you make $20,000 a year in these neighborhoods, you're balling out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, my mom, she was just.
And how tough is it I'm just trying to put myself in your shoes growing up in a rough neighborhood where you're poor. It's tough when you're in an environment that, everybody around you's doing drug, everybody's trying to earn money in a non-legal way.
Yeah.
It's difficult. Like, hats off to you, man, to be able to thrive and, do something.
I got lucky because I was an introvert, so it made it really easy. I just would stay at home, and I was like a fat kid too, so.
You were what?
I was a fat kid. I was a fat kid. I was.
the fat kids go to the wrestling.
Yeah, that's what happened, man. I was a fat kid, and I tried to play football when I was 13 years old, and the football coach told me I was too fat to play football, which is ironic.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, but to be fair, it was one of the best football teams in the state. It was my school, so they had very high standards. And so, as I was leaving the football field, the wrestling coach was the defensive coordinator. His name's Gary Cole, and he was like, "Hey, like fat boy," and I'm like, "Oh, what the fuck?" And he was just joking around, and he was like, "You want to try wrestling?" And I was like, "Oh, what is wrestling?" I really liked WWE back then. My favorite character, his name was Ryback. So he would wear like the singlet. He was this big jacked white dude, and he was like, "Oh, it's like that." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna come in." So right after football practice, or as I was leaving, it was like wrestling practice is gonna start in 30 minutes. It wasn't practice yet; it was conditioning. In the U.S., you have to do conditioning for 2 months before you can actually do true practices. I think it's a safety thing. And I did conditioning. I lost like 8 pounds of water on the first day, and I was like, "Oh, this is super cool!" Like I lost a bunch of weight. I never, most people were like, "Oh, it was so hard." I never felt like it was too hard. I was like, "This is so cool." I was a fat, insecure kid, so I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be a good way." And I lost 50 pounds in the first season. My first season of wrestling.
50. Wow.
Yeah. So from the age of like 13 to 14, I went from like 270 to like 220.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So
how hard were you training? Were you going like every day or?
Yeah. So it would be every day for about 2 hours. We would so how it would usually start. This isn't how I would run practice now. It's like a more educated wrestler. But how it would start is we would go into the building. We would go to these stairs. It would be like 2 stories, right? So it would be like 1, 2, right? He would shut the doors and he put like a towel under the door so the heat gets captured inside of the
You would
staircase.
sweat it out.
And so you would just run nonstop for 30 minutes. after that, you'd go downstairs, we do like push-ups, sit-ups, other little ab workouts, and then we do a bunch of solo drills, like a bunch of shots, a bunch of sprawling, very basic stuff. And then it would get into like wrestling technique for about an hour. But it always ended up being like 2.5 to 3 hours. And man, I loved every moment of it. And I had these two Russian guys, Ansar and Samim. They'd be like, brother, you should wrestle, brother. Let's go. You're gonna love wrestling. And it was super cool because I'm like, oh, I got these two Dagestani guys on my wrestling team.
They were from Louisville too?
No, so their families immigrated from Russia
to Louisville.
Because of some type of, I don't know the situation, but it was apparently it was a political situation. They had moved there. They'd been wrestling for 4 or 5 years, and they're the wrestling captains. And honestly, they really helped me love wrestling more because, you know, where I'm from, there's not very many ethnicities, right? You have black guys, you have white guys, right? So it was super cool.
And you.
Yeah,
Black and white.
And a mixed guy, right? So it was funny being my first time meeting someone not from the United States was joining my wrestling team.
Right.
Two Russian guys. I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah,
they had
sure.
the crazy accents.
Your mom is white or your
She's
dad?
white.
She's white.
Yes. The story in America is the black guy usually gets the white girl pregnant and leaves. Yeah, that's usually.
That's what he was trying to say.
No, but I was wondering because I want to know is dad or his mom is white?
No, yeah. My
So the two captains, did they take you under their wing?
They did, man. They took me under their wing. They got me addicted to fitness. Like I never lifted and never. That's why I lost all the weight, right? We were running, we were doing everything, but also after we would just go lift weights. I didn't. You know, when I look back at it, I'm like, I probably have a lot of these like injuries I have now because of the stupid workouts that we would do. But the stupid workouts helped me build character.
Also, it's a good foundation. Bro.
Yeah, and it helped me. You know, I told you I was an introvert before. I'm not an introvert now. Like,
Yeah.
It helped, like, my confidence went, like, I never had a girlfriend. I immediately had, like, a girlfriend after my first year of wrestling. Like,
Yeah.
I learned how to talk to people. I mean, once you start wearing a onesie in front of 100 people,
You don't give a fuck about it.
easier,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I think the biggest thing you said was it built character because doing something that's very hard and pushing through it,
Yeah.
like at a young age,
Especially in this society.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have any example in front of you.
No example. I had
Zero.
Yeah.
Nada.
Yeah, nothing. I had no male figures in my life before wrestling.
Yeah, you told me. I think the first one was wrestling coach.
Yeah, the first one was Gary Cole, and then after
Was that the guy Chu? The Chu?
No. So the guy who came after was Tom.
Oh.
Tom. So after Coach Cole retired, he was just really old and stuff. Our second wrestling coach, Tom McKenna, he came in.
And at that point, sorry, you were what age?
I was 16. So I'd already been wrestling for a couple of years when Tom came in.
And that's in high school, right?
Yeah. That's in high school. So I was 16, and then I got a new wrestling coach, and he was the first guy that I ever met that was like a really good. My old coach was cool, but we weren't that close. My new coach, we became really close almost immediately. He was a firefighter. He fought in Bellator, and I was like, man, you know, wow. I look up like I didn't even know much about this guy. I just looked up to him because he was like a accomplished male athlete figure to me, and so. When we met each other, like the first day of practice with the new coach, he like drove me back home. He told me about his life and stuff, and then he was like, "I'm gonna teach you how to drive, and I'm gonna teach you how to work." So he gave me my first job, cutting grass, and he would teach me how to drive. So every day after wrestling practice, we would go to this place called Wyandotte Park. We would just drive in the parking lot, and so he taught me how to drive. Honestly, he helped me become like a man. So and then. He had to move because he was having a kid, so he wanted to live in a cheaper city. And he asked, he was like, "Hey man, do you want to live with me, like so that we can like continue like this process?" Like he would help pay for like big tournaments. He'd help to pay for seminars and camps and stuff. And youth wrestling camps are very big. You need to do those if you want to be good. And my mom was very poor, like I said, amazing woman, but she didn't make us very much money. Tom gave me the opportunity. The only thing was I had to move like an hour and a half, 2 hours away from Louisville. And I got my mom's consent. My mom's amazing. She was like, "This guy clearly is helping you." He was a firefighter too, so he's not like a weirdo.
Right.
And then I moved with Tom, and wow, it's crazy. Like when I moved with him, we moved out into the middle of nowhere, bro. I literally lived. We didn't even live in the same house. So he bought a bunch of land. There was a house on top of a hill, and he had a trailer, like literally a trailer that you'd see in a trailer park. And he was like, "Brandon, if you're gonna live with me, you have to live in this trailer."
You're like, oh, no problem. I've lived in a trailer my whole life.
Literally, but it was cool because it was mine. It was just
your
mine.
own space.
Like I could just live here, so it was my first time having my own space and stuff. But it was cool. Yeah, he taught me how to drive. He was the first person who got me into the habit of when I got to high school and then I started living with him. He was like, you need to wake up like every day at 6 a.m. and go to the gym before school starts.
Yeah, get your
Still
stuff
in
in.
contact with them?
Yeah, almost every day. Almost every day. That guy is for me. So in order for this to happen, he had to legally adopt me. So my mom had to sign off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So because of the state of Kentucky, you can't just move with another adult.
Well, it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. So there has to be legal documentation. So he adopted me. Wow, when I was 16. Obviously, my mom was totally consented to it. She was totally fine with it. It was nothing weird. Nothing against. When I tell people this, they're like, "Oh, you hate your mom or something." I'm like, no, that's it. But he legally had to adopt.
I think they don't know. It's easy to give an opinion on something that you have no clue about.
Yeah.
If they weren't in the situation of you and your mother.
In their mouth and,
Yeah, exactly. And this guy was. I mean, dude, this guy did everything. This guy was the example of a man. So he was a firefighter, so he would work like 24 hours, be off 48. But in that 48 hours that he was off, he was cutting 20 yards. Or he was shoveling, he would go...
Shovel snow, yeah.
He would shovel snow. Or he would get a rental property. Or he would do this other business. So he taught me that, like, work is never done. He was like, you're hustling, you have this. He's like, he was the one who told me, you don't have one job, you have three. He's like, this was not a thing to me. Like, for my mom, it was like, okay, I work at night, that's it, blah, blah, blah. I waste a lot of time. No offense to her. It's not shooting her down. Like, he was the first guy that was like, I was like, man, how'd you get all that money? He was like, money doesn't grow on trees.
Yeah, I gotta work.
You gotta work. And I didn't know this. It seems, for lots of people, they're like, oh, it's so obvious. Where I'm like, it wasn't obvious to me. Where I come from, that's not obvious.
No, what's obvious is you go to work at night, you come home, you die in your fucking house, and then you go back to work.
Yeah. It's like he taught me this work ethic, getting a job. Like all summer I would cut grass, and then all winter I would wrestle. So it'd be cutting grass, wrestle, learning how to do this, learning how to do that.
You said he moved because he had a baby. So
yeah, he had
was
a kid.
With his wife, he had a young kid.
He had his kid. So his kid was born like in the middle of one of our wrestling fights. Not there, but like it was happening.
Imagine.
And he had to leave.
Imagine he was born on the mat.
Yeah. No, yeah. So he had a kid like a couple months into being my new coach, and then he just decided like, hey, I want to move to like a. There were multiple reasons, but honestly, the biggest reason was that Louisville was a shithole, right? Like I'm telling you, it's like a very bad place. It can be a very bad place unless you're willing to spend like $1 million on a house, right? So he wanted to move to a city that was, I would consider where we moved. It's called Spencer County. It's similar to Laval. It's not super small, but it's much smaller than the main city, right? So it's like a couple hours away.
So it's cooler.
Yeah, it's much cooler, right?
So you have to change high schools and make new friends and go to a new wrestling facility.
Well, I wasn't allowed to wrestle that year. So this is what happened. So in the U.S., I was still training, but I was only allowed to train at a wrestling club. So in the U.S., unlike Canada, we have states sanctioned sports, right? Because of the bylaws in Kentucky specifically, I was no longer allowed to wrestle with the team. So I went to a new high school, but I wasn't a part of the high school wrestling team. So what I did instead of doing the high school wrestling team is I joined a club, like a full-time club, where all I did was train with like the best guys in the state. But at the end of the day, I never won a state title in the U.S. because my best year, I wasn't even allowed to wrestle.
Right.
So instead of wrestling competitively during doing the state tournament stuff, for a whole year, I just trained with the best guys in the state and did the national tournament at the end of the year.
Okay.
At the end of the year, I got so much better from wrestling with those guys. I went from not placing in nationals to placing fourth in nationals in high school. But it was cool because at first I was scared. I was like, oh, I'm never going to be a state champion. But it's like, it all worked out, honestly. So it was really scary at first moving with them because I was told, like, oh, your dream of being a state champion, it's not going to happen. But then
everything happens for a reason.
It worked out. I was able to get a scholarship after I placed fourth in nationals to get a full ride to go to school. And so
Talking about that, you got a scholarship at a college. What's the college again?
It's Lindsey Wilson College.
Lindsey Wilson.
Yeah.
That's a Christian college? Or
Yeah.
I remember I saw a lot of crosses on your pictures.
Yeah.
Very religious.
Yeah, I'm not a religious person though.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm my whole family is Christian. I would say culturally I'm Christian, but like I would say
Culturally.
culturally. That's what they love to say, right? They know, like we love to, like in the U.S. we love to say like culturally we're Christian, right? It gives people this moral high ground,
Yeah.
right? But I'm not Christian. I'm definitely agnostic.
Right.
My whole family's really truly agnostic, but they just yeah, that's a whole conversation.
That's another topic for another day.
Yeah.
My dad's out. Ciao, Pops.
We got somebody
Bye, guys.
leaving, somebody coming in.
Ciao, Pops.
In and out. GG. Bye, buddy.
Speaking of the devil,
Wow,
Nice to
our
meet you
sponsor.
guys.
Our sponsor.
George
George.
Mentry,
Bye, guys.
Ciao, Pops.
real estate broker in the
Finally
house.
back. Finally back.
Finally
Damn.
back. Season 2.
Season 2 of the pod.
So just to circle back, so you said you moved there, you're 16, you can't do the wrestling state tournament,
Okay.
but you're wrestling with some of the pros in a club.
Yeah, I'm training at this club called ETC. It was called Extreme Training Center. It was the lamest name ever, but it was a school with, it's not a school. It was literally a club. So some guy spent a lot of money, built this club, recruited a bunch of the best kids from around the state, said, hey, you guys can train here for X amount of money. Certain guys were able to train there for free. I got lucky. Randy Willer was the guy who ran it. He let me train there for free. So I got to train with some of the best guys in the state these guys were, half of them were Division I wrestling commits. So I was just getting my butt kicked.
Is there anybody there that was memorable that you remember that made it pretty far in wrestling other than you?
Honestly, yeah. There was another guy who did really well in the NAIA named Ryan Moore. He was like a 4-time finalist. It sucks though. He got second every time.
4-time second.
4-time second
You should
place.
train at the BT.
Yeah, for real, bro. There was another guy named Casey Cornett who did really. His high school career ended up really well, but college he wrestled at Division I at West Point. But man, none of the guys panned out as far as like making huge accomplishments at the Division I
Is
level.
West Point an Army?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
remember.
Army.
Yeah.
It's a really freaking good wrestling school too.
Oh, yeah,
yeah. So in Division I there's tiers, right? Like they're not official tiers, but if you know wrestling, you understand tiers,
Okay.
right? So like in Division I, you'd probably
Penn
say
State,
tier
Oklahoma State University, shit like that.
exactly, right?
Yeah. And then there's the bottom part.
Yeah, exactly. So I would say Army. If there's 3 tiers, Army's tier 2.
Okay.
Right, they're always going to be tough, but they might have one All-American every year.
Right.
One guy who slips in.
Right.
Whereas, like, if you're at Penn State, you're going to have 6 guys All-American.
Yeah, you're guaranteed. Yeah.
You're guaranteed at least one national champion, and
Yeah.
you're guaranteed 6 All-Americans, right,
Yeah.
at Penn State. Right, but yeah, I had a lot of friends who wrestled like those tier 2 schools.
Right.
I had one friend who ended up wrestling at Iowa State, but never was anything really
Okay.
special. I had a couple friends who wrestled with me in the NAI. Besides Ryan, I don't think any of them even placed at the national tournament in the NAI. So
I have a question. How did the scholarship come about? Like, how did they find you?
I just wrestled at national tournaments.
And they would send scouts just like they would do in football, basketball, like
yeah,
a scout.
so it was easy in wrestling because everything was on film, so they didn't have to go places.
Oh, true.
Yeah, so they essentially could just watch film and they just send letters or they'd call. How did Coach Ruff get hold of me? I feel like he called. I think he called Tom, the guy. But I had a lot of schools reach out to me. I had so many reach out, but Lindsey Wilson was the best because number one, it was free, and I got my books for free too. So they were like, "Hey, if you get a full ride and your books are free," because of the situation I told you I came from.
Yeah.
I had a lot of Division I offers, but I was like, "There's not a chance in hell that I'm paying for school." There's
So
a
when a
0%
Division
chance.
One gives you an offer, it doesn't necessarily mean the full scholarship, the
No.
full ride scholarship.
No.
Sometimes it's half, or like sometimes it's full.
Sometimes it's half, sometimes it's full, sometimes it's 20%. So
20%.
Yeah, the way that scholarships work, just for anyone who doesn't know who's not American, so it's different for every sport, but let's say a wrestling team has 8, or let's say a wrestling team has 50 people. For those 50 people, the school will give the coach 8 full scholarships. So with those 8 full scholarships, it doesn't mean that 8 people get a full ride. It means you have 8 full scholarships worth of money to split between 50 people.
So you can give it to 2 guys if you want.
So you can give it to 2 guys. So you could say 2 guys on the team get full rides and everyone else is at 10-15%.
Wow.
And a lot of people get through school with grants. Okay, so that means they get money from the government through different forms of scholarships. So a lot of people will go Division I and become walk-ons. So it's kind of misleading when people say they're Division I wrestlers because there's a big difference between a scholarship wrestler and a Division I wrestler.
Right.
It's not the same thing.
Right.
Right, but obviously to the public, it seems
Just
like
yeah, because they only read Division One wrestling.
Yeah. So they kind of trick you a little bit. It's
Right.
like a bit
So
of
if your
it's like-
family's well off and you get an offer, 10% discount, but your family can afford it, Division One wrestling.
Yes. So I forget who I was talking to the other day, where there's this thing called walk-ons, and walk-ons are the guys that just go to the school.
Yeah, they go to school, they go to practice. The coach is like, "Oh, not bad. Come on, join the team."
Yeah, that's it. And there are lots of guys who do really well from being a walk-on. Like, you can be a walk-on, work really hard, get good, and then become a scholarship wrestler. Right. That happens at all levels.
We see that in football a lot. Like they do a lot of videos in the football team. Like, all right, guys, Kyle's been putting in a lot of work. Congratulations, you got a scholarship. Oh my God.
Exactly. This happens a lot. Like the most notable one was a guy who beat Gable Stevenson named Anthony Cassar. He was a walk-on. He was a walk-on for Penn State University. He was good in high school. Like really good in high school. Still, don't get me wrong. Like he didn't. They didn't necessarily. He didn't get any money to go to Penn State.
They didn't want him that bad.
They didn't want him that. He was great. Like he's a great athlete. He was a good wrestler, but they didn't want him that bad. Like he wanted to go to Penn State. He was like, I have this vision of going to Penn State. For 4 years, he was a backup to a guy named Shakur Rashid, and then on his last year, he becomes a heavyweight, goes undefeated, wins a national title, beats an Olympic champion twice to win a national title. So not the greatest wrestler at all. Was not a scholarship wrestler. Eventually, he built up to where he got a scholarship, became a Division I national champ. Similar story has happened with a couple other people, you know what I mean? But
It's crazy. Penn State keeps coming back. Like this school, it's such a big school, bro.
they know how to develop guys. But the issue is they also have, that was a Cinderella story, they also have a lot of burnouts.
Okay, there's people that go and quit.
Exactly. So that's why I always tell people when they hear, I like talking about this on podcasts because they hear Division I wrestler, but they don't necessarily know what that means. They're not all built the same. It's like a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu.
There's shitty black belts and then there's good black belts.
There's black belts that got their black belt because they kept showing up, and then there's black belts.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times that's the Division I wrestler. That's why I've competed against so many Division I wrestlers and smoke them.
Right.
Now if I compete against Anthony Cassar, what's he gonna be? He's gonna smoke me. Why? Because he's different.
He's him.
He's him.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, so I got a couple of offers from Division I schools, but they weren't that great because, like I said, it's the 8 scholarship thing. Now it's changed a little bit, but it's essentially still pretty same where you have a limited amount of money to give. I'm a kid from Kentucky. Kentucky's not a good wrestling state, right? So they're like, I'm not going to give you that much money to just come beyond, like, to be a practice partner. So a couple schools, a couple Division II schools and a couple NAI schools gave me full ride offers. Most notably Notre Dame University, which was a really good Division II school.
My favorite
for wrestling. Yeah, and then Campbellsville University.
The Irishman, the Notre Dame Irish.
Yeah, and then Campbellsville University and Lindsey Wilson College. Those were my final 3.
You ended up going to the third one, right?
Yeah, Lindsey Wilson College. So the reason I didn't go to Notre Dame was I honestly just didn't want to go visit. I was lazy. I just didn't want to go visit. And then I visited Campbellsville and Lindsey Wilson College. They're both in Kentucky, not anywhere near Louisville though,
right.
like 3-4 hours away from Louisville. So,
but still in the same state.
In the same state. What people don't realize about Kentucky is because lots of people like to stereotype Kentucky. Louisville is as close to Chicago in culture.
It's Midwest, no?
Yeah, it's way closer to Chicago in culture than it is
to Southern.
To Lindsey Wilson, Campbellsville. Lindsey Wilson, Campbellsville is your very redneck, hey y'all, like, you know what I mean?
Really, eh?
Yeah, so.
And then Louisville is more like
hood, poor, you know what I mean? Like,
more like what up?
Yeah, Louisville has 2 classes. They have the poor and they have the rich. There's nothing in between them.
Okay.
There's no blue collar in Louisville. If you're blue collar and you're in Kentucky, you move away from Louisville.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So it's the reality.
Well, it kind of gives an example of your high school coach.
Yes.
He was a blue collar guy. He's like, oh,
Exactly.
I can't fucking make it here. Let me go to
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, exactly. It's like if you're gonna have kids and family and stuff, it's almost best to move even just an hour outside of Louisville, where you're still technically Louisville, but you're not.
Yeah.
But where I ended up going to was Lindsey Wilson because I had a full ride. Plus they had offered books. Plus I went to just one of the wrestling practices, and the coach, man, he was like, Brandon, you're gonna be the baddest fucking man in the world. I was like, what? And so we would practice, and he's like, man, Brandon, you're the baddest man in the world. And I never, so I had good coaches coming up, but I never had a guy who, I just visited him, and he'd just be like, you're the baddest man in the world. I'm like, what do you mean by that? Because again, I was becoming more confident, but there was still that introvert in me. And he was just different. Like, he believed in me.
You spoke to me a lot about that guy.
Yeah, bro, he was crazy, bro. Before every wrestling match, he would slap my hands and be like, "You're the baddest motherfucker in the world." From the recruiting visit all the way to my last national title match, he would look me in the eyes. He's crazy. He's like, "These guys can't beat you."
Is it the guy with the dip? That's the guy that was
Yeah. Always has a dip in his mouth. He's from Wisconsin, and he's like, "Yeah, you're the baddest man in the world." And I'm like, "Bro, what the fuck?" Anytime I would feel bad, bro. I'd have a practice where I get beat up by one of the backups, and he'd be like, "Brandon, you're the baddest man in the world." I'd be like, "What the fuck?"
I just lost every single exchange.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's also the reality. I won 3 national titles from Lindsey Wilson College, but I was never the best guy in my room. I was never the best guy. I had practice partners who were better than me, but they were shitheads. They were turds. They would just do drugs. They would party a lot. They would skip workouts.
But they were just naturally gifted.
They were naturally, and they started wrestling when they were like 4. My best training partner, his name was Trevor Lawson. I mean, I've told him this to his face, and he knows. The dude came from Ohio, one of the best wrestling states. He was a multiple-time state finalist in Ohio. He was like a top 100 recruit in the country. He easily could have went Division I, but he had like an alcohol party problem. He's a really good-looking guy too. So his life was like chicks and drinking. This dude like made it to the national finals like every year just
pure talent.
Just talent, bro.
That's big dick energy.
That's it. And this motherfucker, he would refuse to train with me except for like once a week. We would train, and it would be the hardest day of my life every time.
But why did he refuse to train with you?
He didn't like me because it was just, I think, again, looking in the future, I think it was us coming from very different backgrounds.
Right.
He didn't like a tryhard. He saw me as a tryhard,
right.
Whereas he saw himself as like, oh, wrestling's not shit. He was one of those guys that's like, wrestling's not important, fuck this, like blah, 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 blah.
I'm too cool for this.
It was one of those, he was hardcore, like, I'm too cool for this, why are you trying so hard? I don't think he ever sat down and thought, oh, maybe it's because of your background that you want to like build up to. So we were complete opposite guys, but we were probably the 2 best guys on the team, realistically. And this motherfucker, 9 out of 10 times he fucked me up.
And he's big?
197 pounds.
Okay.
9 out of 10 times he fucked me up. I would take him down here and there, but like if it was a match, he fucked me up.
Really? That's when the saying like hard work beats talent. When talent
yeah, bro.
Work
I was never talented. Like still to this, like everyone thinks I'm so athletic and good and stuff, and you're like, not really, bro. Like comparable, my knees have always hurt, my back's always hurt. Yeah. I've always had like a slower wrestling style compared to like some of my like training partners. To lots of jiu-jitsu people, I look like I do shit. But to like lots of the better wrestlers, are like, okay, like he's very basic.
Yeah, because in jiu-jitsu, peak athleticism hasn't been
it's not part of a thing, bro.
Yeah, exactly. It's more of a jiu-jitsu is more of a geek martial art. Like you're a nerd.
Yeah.
If you do jiu-jitsu, you're a nerd. Like I'm technical bolos.
Yeah.
But if you do wrestling, you're like a dog.
You're a dog,
yeah,
bro.
2 cauliflower blue fucking. Your head bumps everywhere. Everybody's head bumping each other.
Yeah. And I was just like.
So a guy like you is just another guy in a wrestling room.
I was literally another guy in a wrestling room. I wasn't. Now, of course, like I was a heavyweight, so of course I was like fast for my weight class and stuff. But again,
and you were lighter in the heavyweight.
I was lighter. I was always like, I think I was like 238, 245. Like when I won my national, like I remember these numbers: 238, 238.
And what is heavyweight? Is 265 and less? Is it just
285
and less? 285 and less. God damn.
Yeah,
that's 20 pounds more than the UFC, bro.
Yeah, they're big, bro.
Holy
they're good
shit.
too.
Gable Stevenson is 285?
Yeah. No, he's like 270. He's big, bro. Have you ever seen him in person? Or Greg Kirklevitt? Those dudes are huge. They're giants. Greg is like 265 and super lean.
And that's crazy athleticism to be 270 and being able to do a backflip stand or like a front.
Yeah.
Like, bro, that's retarded.
It's funny, for anyone who knows Penn State Wrestling, Greg, he's cool. He's a homie, and he was like, Brandon, you should come. You hear his voice going, Brandon, you should come wrestle with me. I'm like, no. I'm all good, bro. I don't want the smoke anymore, bro. I know what's going to happen.
Yeah. And from being at Penn State, because I went to Penn State, I visited Penn State, I went to a concert, I watched a Penn State football game. It's a huge school, bro. Like
it's a different level.
Bro, it's its own country. It's like its own thing.
If you train at Penn State, you don't need to go anywhere else.
Yeah, for sure.
It doesn't matter what sport. If you train at Penn State, you might be.
You know that guy, Brooks?
Aaron Brooks.
So when we went it was a country music concert. Went to Penn State, and it was in the Penn State football stadium, so it was like 80,000 people there. Okay.
Yeah.
And when we were walking, bro, this guy Aaron Brooks pops up. Bro, it's like if they saw Michael Jordan.
Yeah. He's
The
a
whole
superstar.
school. Aaron, what the fuck is up, yo?
He's a sweet guy too, man. If you've ever talked to him, he's a very nice
Jesus
guy.
before everything.
Yeah.
Everything. His interviews are hilarious. How did you win? Jesus came through. All
Yeah,
kinds
he
of
won't
awesome.
tell you a technique. They'll be like, man, I love Aaron too. This dude's he's always very nice to me. But it is funny. They'll be like, man, you know, how'd you get that double leg with 30 seconds
Jesus
left?
Christ.
He was like, Jesus Christ. They're like, well, what was the technique? Well, you know, I thought about Jesus and he showed me the way. And you're like, but like, how do you do?
How about the hand fighting? Hand fighting comes from God. Jesus.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I remember when the interview came out. I was
God we
here.
trust.
And God, the interview came out. I was here with you. And I was like, "Did you watch the interview?" And you knew exactly what I was talking.
I love that guy though. He's
Yeah.
so funny.
He's good, bro. He's
I
great.
love that. I really, you know, it's like I'm not religious or whatever, but I really respect someone like him because he does a really good job not defining himself by wrestling.
Right.
You know, he's one of the people that made me like change my mind about, you know, like being too attached to the outcome of stuff. That's why literally one of my favorite wrestlers.
But it's crazy that at a college level in the United States, like I'll give you an example. Like here in Montreal, I would say when it comes to college level, the biggest sport is football. Okay, like if you look at in Quebec,
right, like actual sport.
like the biggest sport, like if there's a college superstar in Quebec, he usually comes from football. It's very rarely from basketball.
Like American football?
Yes, exactly. American football. Very rarely is it from basketball. Very rarely is it from hockey. Like the big guys, when you go to Concordia, when you go to McGill, when you go to Université de Montréal, when you go to the big guys are football players. Like, oh, this guy's the football player. But nobody has, like, Penn State, it's its own village.
Yeah.
Like here, bro, in Montreal, there's 4 universities at one corner of each other, like at one street of each other.
It's wild. I'd never seen something like this before. Because for me, all universities are
It's
like
their own
an
place.
hour apart.
So when I went to Penn State, bro, if you drive 20 minutes south, you're in Amish country.
Yeah.
Like it's in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah.
and when you get there, it's like super high end. It's technological. There's a Raising Cane.
There's literally nothing to do.
And then you drive
Besides
20 minutes
music.
south. You're like, bro, I'm in Amish country. Bro. There's no electricity.
And like you said, like any sports, you can be a diver. When you're in Penn State,
You're the Penn State
you're
diver.
You're
Yeah,
the shit.
yeah,
You are the
exactly.
shit.
Well, I
Yeah.
think that's the thing of like, you know, American colleges. It's like they're very emphasized on sports.
Depends. It depends.
Depends where. Like,
It's
let's
a-
say Harvard is an Ivy school. You
No,
know,
for sure, but they still have sports.
hockey is huge in Harvard. You're
They
right.
still
Yeah.
have football. They still have whatever soccer. They still have the sports is still a big thing. That's how they rack in. I think most of
A lot of money.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's it's like the government pays you based
Yeah.
on the amount of athletes that you can get in. So it's like if you
And also the stadiums have like 100,000 spectators.
yeah, exactly. So it's like let's say we'll even talk about the NAI, much smaller than Division One. Let's say they recruit you, Jad. Just for you, the government's going to pay $80,000.
The
to
school?
The school. The government's going to
Really?
pay the school $80,000 because what they do is essentially they buy students. So it's a return on investment, right? I give you a bunch of grants and stuff that pay the school to basically like help you. So let's say you get 40% off, but you're still paying 4 years of $40,000.
Right.
So the government's paying 80 grand to help you get in, but you're paying 40 grand every year.
That's 160 G's at the end.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
So they don't realize I learned this like actually working for Lindsey Wilson, and they taught me like the business side of it. Every student there's a dollar sign over your head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So if with wrestling they say you have like they told Coach Ruff told me about this like I have to fill out 40 people on the roster. So the government's going to give the school X amount of dollars to pay for those 40 people, right? That's the 8 scholarships. Well, with those 8 scholarships, you're bringing in 40 people at whatever percentage. Now, let's say the government's losing $1 million on 40 people, but they're gaining $4 million.
Right, because they're paying. That's the student.
So it's like all investments.
Right.
But it's almost like it's a guaranteed investment.
It's a business.
It's a
Because the schools are privatized.
yeah, and I didn't know any of this before. I was just like, oh, the money's coming out of fucking thin air. No, bro. It's a trick. They're like, we're gonna give you a little bit of money, and then you're gonna pay us all this money plus interest. And now the return on investment is like 4 to 1. So
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's also like for us here in Montreal, there's a couple colleges, right? So you mentioned McGill, there's UQAM, there's a couple colleges. Obviously, some like McGill is kind of the top dog for us in terms of colleges.
Yeah.
And then there's smaller universities, but the range is not that huge. In the U.S., you can compare. We talked about Penn State, but then the l'éventail of schools, like Ivy League schools to the shithole college.
Yeah, the
Community college. Yeah.
It's
college,
the difference is
But you know
huge.
what's
It's not-
crazy
yeah, it's not
about
even
Montreal is that McGill is top dog, but McGill is top dog in med. But then if you look at law,
med,
or like if you look at I don't know fucking engineering, ETS has nothing to do with it. If you look at nutrition and sports, Concordia. Like if every marketing anywhere.
It's,
If you want a useless degree, you go to UTM. But
I guess that's the whole trick about college. Most of them are useless degrees.
yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
How did you transition from wrestling to jiu-jitsu? How did this transition?
How'd you meet Chewy, bro?
So I did my first jiu-jitsu class in 2019. So while I was still wrestling in college, so I went back home and so Louisville is
Did you go to college?
Yeah.
Eh?
I have a degree in counseling. Yeah,
In what?
counseling.
Like
So, like,
if I have
therapist?
issues, you can talk to me.
Yeah, that's what I did. I did my degree in counseling.
For real?
Okay, let's
Yeah.
do it. Let's add an hour to this podcast. We've got issues.
So many. He's like, bro, I've got my own issues.
We need more than an hour for sure.
For us three, we need fucking 7 hours, bro.
But yeah. So I finished. I won nationals in 2021. So going back in 2019, I visited Derby City because Tom, the guy that adopted me legally, he was a brown belt. So he'd been because he fought in Bellator and stuff. So he was doing jiu-jitsu.
Right.
So he was already a brown belt at this point.
So when he was coaching you wrestling, he was already doing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, for almost 10 years.
Got
And
it.
so I knew about jiu-jitsu, but I was like, that's gay, whatever. I'm not gonna do that. But then in college, I was bored. Like in 2019, I went home to go visit my family, to visit Tom, and Tom was like, "Hey, are you wrestling anywhere today?" Essentially, we had this, and I was like, "No, everything's closed today." He was like, "Why don't you come like get a sweat in at jiu-jitsu?" And I went and trained with Chewy, but I didn't learn anything, right? So I went like once in 2019, and then in 2020, I went back a couple times, and then so I probably did jiu-jitsu 4 or 5 times between 2019 to 2021. And then in 2021, after I graduated college, I didn't graduate yet. After the wrestling season finished in March, there was like a little jiu-jitsu club at Lindsay Wilson, and I was really good friends with a lot of people who were doing it. So I was like, oh, whatever, I'm gonna try to do some jiu-jitsu. Started doing jiu-jitsu under this guy named Patches Childers, like officially, and so I was doing jiu-jitsu with him for like 4 months, because I was still living in Columbia, Kentucky, and then I moved back to Louisville. And then I just started training jiu-jitsu with Chewy, and yeah, I trained jiu-jitsu with Chewy for like a month, and then I did like my first competition, and then I was like, oh, okay, I'm kind of hooked. I got fucked up in my first competition.
Really?
I got heel hooked in like 15 seconds by like this 160-pound guy.
But what division did you do?
Expert, absolute expert.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I had a brown belt in my like first match.
Well, you're an idiot, not
Bro, to this day, this guy will like randomly post a video and tag me.
No.
That he heel hooked me when I was in my first jiu-jitsu competition. Yeah. No, like literally, like randomly, I'll have people send it to me and they'll be like, "Bro, did you just get heel hooked in 15 seconds by this little guy?" But it was my first jiu-jitsu competition ever, bro. And this dude will just randomly post it and be like, "Guy, heel hooked this 3-time national champ." I'm like, you fucking
4 years ago, you dickhead.
it was a white belt, bro. I always tell people there's such an inferiority complex of lots of jiu-jitsu guys when it comes to wrestlers. You're like, brother, if you heel hooked a wrestler with no jiu-jitsu training, it's not an
Oh,
accomplishment.
bro, let's talk about it. No, you want to talk about it? You posted the video.
Yeah,
You posted the video of that guy,
that dickhead, bro.
the spazzy white belt that came.
Yeah, so this.
So before you keep going, this is my theory, okay? I'm against mat enforcing, in a sense where if there's a dickhead on the mats, I'd much rather kick him out from the gym and never roll with him, me or anybody else, than going over there and beating the shit out of him to prove a point to him. I'd rather him leave. Whereas there's other people that take it like, oh, this spazzy white belt came in, let me teach him a lesson. But it's like, it's not your job to teach him a lesson. Your job is to teach jiu-jitsu. Your job is not to teach values, morals, or anything like that, right? Your job is to show him a triangle and how to escape side control. This guy that we're talking about now posted a video. There was a spazzy white belt wrestler that came in. And me, you know me, I very rarely, it happened before, if you eye poke me, if you do something weird, like I'll tell you, like, bro, what the fuck are you doing? But there's no way I will bring something up if you collar tie me too hard, if you push me, if you I will never be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But this jiu-jitsu guy, he posted in the video, like you saw the wrestler, he collar tied him like a wrestler. Like he hit him a little bit hard. The guy pulled guard and proceeds to pop the guy's foot
3 times.
3 times, clack, clack, clack.
You hear it.
Yeah, and then they disengage from a scramble, and the white belt is like the white belt wrestler is like turning his back away to like reface him. He gets up and he pushes him against the wall, and then he writes, "Don't turn your back to a jiu-jitsu guy." It's like, hey, you're a complete pussy.
Yeah, you're a brown belt who competes.
Every weekend.
Yeah, every weekend this guy competes, and the wrestler was not going crazy.
Like he didn't know what
Where
to
was
do.
this? Was this like?
In the
we
States,
don't know.
bro. I know the guy's gym. I know the guy by heart. I know where he is.
The dude, he's a douchebag. It's just like I talked to Chewy. We had to talk about this because it's like one of my best videos already on YouTube was talking about this because it's like, man, you don't have to hurt people. It's such a dickhead move. This dude, and not only that, he put like big ego wrestler comes into the gym, and you're like, dude, you're the big ego. You're a competitive brown belt, and you win stuff. Why do you have to hurt someone because they're a wrestler? It's like you're so worried. Your dick is so small that you just think that everyone who's a wrestler that walks in with a little.
It's out for you. Yeah.
The dude's not out for you. He's just a wrestler, bro. He's a white belt wrestler. You're gonna potentially break his knee. Even if there was no full arm belt, you popped his knee and you posted a video about it. And you're like, dude, let's say you have a couple of options here, right? This is how I would approach it. Number one, I've been like, if it was me and Jad, I'd be like, hey man, Jad, can you like relax? I know you're new to this. Can you like just chill, back off a little bit?
No.
Yeah. Number two, you could just stop the roll. We're done, bro.
Yeah.
We're good. Or number three, if you want to prove a point, take the guy's back and choke him.
Yeah.
But no, bro, you're gonna heel hook him. And then his defense was, he didn't tap. You retard.
He doesn't know how to.
It's like his fourth. The guy said in the comments that was like my 4th day doing jiu-jitsu.
So he busted his knee.
Yeah.
Yeah, he busted his ankle. The ankle. I heard the foot crack.
Yeah.
In the video, and he was very proud about it. He zoomed into the foot
and put pop.
That's crazy.
Yeah, bro.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And he's like, big ego wrestler does this, and you're just like, dude. So again, you have options. Tell him to calm down, stop the roll, or just choke him. Take his back and choke him.
Or just if you're like you said, stop the roll. Exactly. Like,
just stop the roll.
If you're that uncomfortable and you feel like it's dangerous for you and him,
stop.
Be like, yo, I really don't want to roll anymore. I've done that before.
So he did that because he collar tied him too hard.
He did it because someone was recording it.
Yeah, exactly. I think he wanted to make a point and make a post, and he thought that everybody on the internet would be on his side. He'd be like, oh yeah, go, please fuck up the wrestler. But it's like, bro.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he's a client, bro. This guy's coming into your gym, paying for a service, and you pop his foot. Like, what kind of?
And you're lucky you didn't tear his ACL or something, right? You're lucky it was just a couple of pops,
right?
And it's he's like, he didn't get hurt. You're like, he could have. He could have gotten hurt.
Getting hurt and not getting hurt in jiu-jitsu is about this.
Yeah, and honestly,
like this bullshit.
We say he didn't get hurt. Who knows what 5 years down the line those pops were? Because that's what happens, right? You get a couple of little pops, you don't feel it for a couple of years, and then you get a little older. Your joints are getting a little bit weak. Now that pop is still there.
Yeah, of course. But yesterday when Johnny was here, we spoke about this. When the guy was going too hard, I didn't go and be like, "Yo, you want to go?" With the guy that was here, I didn't go and there was a guy going too hard. I didn't go. Oh, yeah, let's go, me and you. I called him, but I was like, bro, 2 people.
That's good culture.
You were here, but you told the guy it was at your class Tuesday with the big
guy.
The
big guy. Yeah.
You were like, yo, relax. And then he went too hard, and I was like, I didn't roll with him and fucking break his arm. I told him, bro.
I could have thrown him on his head and broke his neck.
Exactly, but no.
But I didn't because I'm a good human being. That guy,
and he pays money to come here, bro.
Yeah, and this is another thing. This idiot online, this brown online, he's like, you did this because he was a wrestler and you had a camera. Okay, now take away the fact that the guy's a wrestler, which pretty much the wrestling didn't mean anything.
He didn't even wrestle, bro. He pulled.
So it's like the wrestling has number one. It's like this is what I hate about the internet. It's like him being a wrestler has nothing to do with jiu-jitsu, especially once you've pulled guard. Number two, would you just do that to any white belt who's a little bit aggressive?
And at the end of the day, anybody that starts jiu-jitsu that's over 170 pounds,
they're a little spazzy.
They're gonna be spazzy because
not even 100.
Anybody that starts jiu-jitsu,
anybody,
they're gonna be spazzy.
Yeah,
you're lazy, not spazzy.
Yeah, but more than likely, there's a higher percentage that there's a high probability that people, and I don't even like the word spaz too much myself, because it's like they don't know what they're doing. Okay, let's talk about spazzing. If you don't know how to swim and I throw you in the water,
you're gonna spaz.
How are you gonna feel, bro? Teach your motherfucker. But we don't drown the guy because he's spazzing. We help him, right? You know what I mean?
Good example, bro.
Yeah, it's like, so why are we doing this to people who are spazzing?
Man, imagine a football practice. Yeah. Like, hey yo, pancake drill on this motherfucker, bro.
They used to do that, bro.
Yeah, of course.
Football, it's the opposite.
But in football, bro, you don't make the team if you're spazzing. Like,
well, it's also like you just said, it's a team sport. Right?
Yeah, this is an individual thing.
But also jiu-jitsu, the culture. Like I've come from a gym that if you go hard as a white belt, there's a black belt, a brown belt, or a purple belt that's gonna come and fuck you.
But you came from a Brazilian gym.
That's what I'm saying. It's from the culture.
It stems from that.
It's the culture of jiu-jitsu. There's always in most jiu-jitsu gyms. We're a new school jiu-jitsu. For us, this gym, it's a new type of jiu-jitsu, right? But the old school way is there's always a mouth enforcer. And if somebody walks in who's a little jacked and that has decent jiu-jitsu and he's a white belt and he's fucking up blue belts and purple belts, there's gonna be the coach, the owner or the coach is gonna look at one of his top guys. He's gonna tell him,
okay,
go fuck him up.
But this is okay. There's a difference between that. So I'll give you an example. Sometimes when there's new guys that come in, they're jacked, they're strong, they're good. They're athletic, they're effective. They go hard against somebody that they're a little bit smaller than. You can come in, oh shit, what up, bruh? My brother's in the house. Damn, the whole family came here today, bro. But like sometimes there's a guy who's big, tall, jacked, and he goes with somebody that's a little bit lighter, that's also a white belt, and he fucks him up. Okay, maybe he hurts him a little bit. I'll go see Tom, let's say. But Tom is a blue belt who's 170 pounds. And I'll be like, I'll be like, yo, Tom, go roll with that guy, just so that huge jack guy knows that jiu-jitsu works. Yes. Because a 17-year-old kid is gonna come and he's gonna take your back and rear naked choke you, and you're gonna be like, what the fuck am I doing with my? Oh, I thought like. Because or else you're gonna have a false reality of things. Because you come in, you're jacked, you're tall, you beat up a white belt, you're gonna be like, oh, I'm so good at jiu-jitsu. But if I send a 17-year-old blue belt and he takes your back and chokes you, it gives you a sense of understanding of the sport. Like, oh, this works. You know. I'm not saying a mad enforcer, but just like giving a sense of reality to somebody, you know?
At the end of the day, we're running a business, right?
Yes.
And if this guy shows up, who's 200 pound, has been weightlifting for 10 years, he's played, high-level hockey, high-level basketball, he's athletic, he's big, he's jacked, he knows how to move, he walks in, and he's just throwing guys, he's going to be like, well, this shit doesn't really work. I guess So he needs to have a sense of reality that, hey, even though you're big and jacked, some little guy is going to come and he's got more experience, he's going to fuck you up. But it's not about hurting.
That's it. It's that sense of humbleness, right?
It's not about bullying either. That's where that video comes in. It's like when you circle back to it, that's bullying.
His attitude was wrong. In the video, the guy's attitude was wrong.
Yeah, he wanted to bully the person.
Yeah, he wanted to show him like, oh, you suck and I'm good.
Yeah, you're not showing, hey, jiu-jitsu's effective.
No.
You're showing, I'm going to hurt you because I am better than you.
Yeah.
And you're like, brother, of course you're better than me.
You've been training in fucking 12 years.
Yeah, of course.
It's my fourth class.
Yeah, you're a 27-year-old brown belt who's been training for fucking 10 years. Of course you're going to hurt this guy. Of course you're going to beat this guy.
If you don't stop training.
Right, now, there's a difference. Like, I don't mind if someone's being like a dickhead and they come in. Like, I will get in the mount and I will just sit there and smother you.
Yeah, for sure.
That's chill. I'm not hurting you.
I'm not breaking your arm.
I'm not hurting you. That's fine.
I'll make you puke with collar ties.
And I'm also not posting it on Instagram and putting a very dramatic caption being like, white belt spaz attacks me, so I put him in his place.
Yeah. I mean, just popping somebody's ligament or knee or whatever, putting it on the
web,
social, I think that right
kind
there
of a
is just like too much, no?
Yeah, it's even crazier because of his caption saying big ego wrestler.
Pop, that's retarded.
If somebody popped the knee that you had surgery on, if you went to a gym and somebody tore your knee, you'd wait for him with a gun after class and shoot the fuck out of him.
Even if he didn't hurt you, you'd still be mad.
Yeah, you'd be like,
because you're like, why the fuck, bro? Like,
sure.
And you know the pain.
Insane.
That you can have from a knee. Yeah. And if you know that this guy is trying to, I'll fucking break your knees with a baseball bat.
And using the excuse that, oh, he didn't tap, you're like, you retard.
It's his fourth class, bro.
And even if that kid was a black belt, you shouldn't, don't finish it. If you're good enough to get a good bite on the guy, you don't have to finish it.
You know HPCU coaching?
Yeah, Josh.
The guy from Australia.
Yeah.
He broke down that video.
Yeah, I
And,
saw.
and one thing that I found that's very interesting in that video that I liked a lot was the concept of you're facing a white belt. There is no submission that you should be applying to the breaking point on a white belt, period.
Agreed. No
None.
arm bars.
No arm bars, no kimuras, no Americanas, no knee bars, no heel hooks, no ankle locks. The only thing would be a rear naked choke.
Yeah.
Even a triangle choke, you can, if you squeeze as hard as you can on a guy's neck, you're gonna pop his neck.
Yeah, or Dars.
Or a Dars, like, fuck that, bro.
Yeah.
The only one that you're gonna go fully 100% on is a rear naked choke, because worst case scenario, bro, he's gonna fall asleep, and that's it. Bro. It doesn't have neck pain, and it's the most humbling experience having somebody on your back, 2 hands under, being like squishing like a fish out of the water, and you're like, oh goddamn.
And at the end of the day, if you have an armbar or a heel hook on somebody, without applying braking pressure or braking mechanics, just holding it, making sure that the guy cannot move, then you're doing it properly, and the guy's going to be like, okay, well, he could break my arm, but I can't move, he's going to tap.
And if he spazzes out of it, you let go and you say, bro,
Yeah, exactly.
I could hurt, like...
Let's talk about it. Let me show you what can happen.
Yes, it's like, I'm not gonna, like, if I get Jad in an armbar and he fucking starts spazzing out of it and it's fully locked, I'm gonna let go and then I'm gonna be like, dude, I'm not gonna ever break your arm because this is practice, but if you did that shit against someone who doesn't like you, you're gonna get your arm broken.
I mean, I would break your arm, bro.
You didn't break my legs the other day, bro.
Have you ever had surgery on any knees or?
No, I tore my LCL and had a partial tear in my ACL, but I just did PT. That's what I think. That's what I mean. The thing is like my physio said it back home, Jesse, when I was in college. He was like, if you get surgery on your knees now, you're gonna fuck yourself up forever.
Yeah.
And he's like, and I think he was right. I have lots of friends who got knee surgeries, and essentially it's just like you're so prone to re-injury after surgery. Where it's like if you take time off, if you rest, if you do physio or what we call PT.
Physiotherapy. If you strengthen the muscles all around.
You're gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine. You know, but surgery is such like again, it's all about like we've talked about business. Like a lot of times, surgery is business, and the amount of money that doctors actually make and hospitals get from doing the surgery is crazy. Whether you're in Canada, whether in the U.S. So a lot of times, like, it's cool that more and more doctors are coming out and saying this too, where it's like surgery is not your first choice.
Right.
Because back in the day,
it was immediate.
It was immediate.
Yeah.
And not only would it hurt you like financially, it would hurt you physically in the long run. Because
when I got shoulder surgery, bro, I had waited 3.5 years with a partially torn pec, a fully torn rotator cuff, and a posterior tear in my labrum. And when I went to the public system, the doctor told me, if we do surgery on you, you're never going to compete again. So I was like, oh, fuck my life, I'm not going to do surgery, this, that, and the third. But when I went private, the guy that did the private surgery, I paid my, thank God, I have parents that were well off, they helped me out. When we went private, the doctor told me, like, look, I'm going to do this, but I'm not going to do this.
Yeah.
Reason being is because my shoulder was literally out of its socket the whole day, because I didn't have a socket anymore. Like, I tore it completely off, you know. So when we did the surgery, I went private, I paid a lot of money, I went with the best doctor in Quebec to do shoulder surgeries, and knock on wood, my left shoulder is stronger than my right shoulder now.
that's good.
Because of that surgery.
Yeah.
But I know people that got surgery with shoulders that were less bad than me. Like, now they're fucked. The guy walks with you know the thing that holds your shoulder back?
Yeah.
He walks and trains with that all the time, bro. He's a black belt, and he's been a black belt for 10 years, and he's going to have to wear that for the rest of his
That's
life.
so bad for you because like the rest of your muscles around your back,
Atrophy.
your core atrophy. Yeah. So yeah.
I watched, so my wife and kid were in Florida this week, so I had a lot of time to myself to watch TV, which I usually don't do. But I watched a documentary on Connor McDavid, the hockey player, and they were showing his injury. I don't know if you guys remember, I don't follow much of sports, but he got injured in 2019. He was going, you know how fast he goes. He was going full speed, he slipped, and he hurt his knee on the cage. The cage popped out. Anyways, he tore a bunch of ligaments, like completely detached from behind
ACL.
behind the
PCL.
I'm not sure which one it was. I don't remember. They were
ACL
showing
is
like
here behind his PCL.
they
Yeah.
were showing like a 3D.
Yeah.
So he went to see like multiple different doctors, and some doctors were saying, "Oh no, it's nothing," because they couldn't see it on the MRI or they couldn't see it on the scan. And then he went to get a second and third opinion, and then they were like, it was a major injury. Like his tibia bone was cracked. That's how bad it was. And they were telling him, listen, if you do surgery, we're going to reconstruct it, but you're going to be out for a year, and who knows if you're ever going to come back. Because obviously we're talking about the best NHL player as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing to get back to skate and get back to play. Are you going to be the best again? And he ended up doing zero surgery, just doing hyperbaric chamber,
Steroids.
a ton of fucking physical therapy, and he fixed it.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah,
real.
but bro, steroids too, bro.
BBC will
Yeah,
fix them.
I'm telling you, bro. If you watch an athlete on TV playing sports for millions of dollars, he's on roids. There's too much money behind it.
I did ACL, MCL, meniscus, and bone contusion surgery on my right knee, and bro, it fucked me up. Fuck me up.
That's not good for you, bro.
Yeah, fuck me up.
Yeah, bro. And also
to this
with
day, bro.
This guy could have played in the.
NFL, bro.
He was a crazy football player. His buddy went to the NFL, right?
Yeah, I played with Benjamin Saint-Just. He plays for Washington.
He's a starting defensive back for the Washington Commanders. They were on the same team in high school. It's crazy, yeah. But there's a false reality with athletes. Sometimes you look at an athlete and you're like, oh, this guy tore his ACL and he's back after 3 months. Let's start at the beginning of the thing, okay? This guy is the 1% of the 1%.
Yeah.
So
Facility
physically, genetically, he's the one. Connor McDavid is the 1% of the one, like the top centers in the league. He's the top of them. That's number one. That's the start there. Second of all,
Steroids.
Edmonton Oilers are worth a couple of million of dollars. You understand what I mean?
Probably billion.
Probably billion. You think the Edmonton
I don't
Oilers
know.
billions? I
Like,
don't
like
think so.
one. No. What?
Let's say $1 billion. Okay, they're worth $1 billion, bro.
Oh.
The number one, the most important player on your team, bro. You're gonna pump hundreds of millions of dollars into him to fix
For
it.
sure,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
They give him they won't say it, but they give him a little smoothie in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What's in this?
But bro, we heard,
Supplements?
you know how many
Yeah.
stories you hear of like
Make
football
you feel
players,
better.
getting their knees blown out in a football game. They go inside, Vicodin,
No, Vicodin, Taradol.
Percocet.
So in the NFL, they're big on Taradol during the game. Like if a player gets injured and they need him to play,
Give him
knee or
Percocet,
elbow
yeah.
or I don't know, finger or foot.
2.4 billion.
They give
The Edmonton Oilers.
They give him some Taradol.
That's what I'm
and
saying,
They push him right back into the game. Taradol is a hell of a thing in the NFL. It's crazy.
I wish I had terrible.
Taradol.
But bro, these athletes, like I was watching a lot of hockey documentaries for some reason, but like hockey players, they're some of the toughest guys out
Are
there.
you kidding me? But they're retarded. Look at my brother, bro. My brother is 20 years old. If you talk to him in everyday life, sweetheart, he puts skates on, he becomes a different human being, bro.
Like they'll get fucking a tooth ripped out.
And bro, it's also, they fly at the highest speeds possible, and your one and only goal is to smash this guy into the board.
Yeah, I
bro.
mean it's the only
And
sport. It's the only sport where they do 20-second shifts in
And you're allowed to fight. It's the
And
only
like,
sport
let
where
me
they're
tell
like,
you
oh, if you guys want to
something,
fight, this is a
even-
gentleman's agreement.
You know what? Even worse than that. It's the only time in life that you're allowed to hit another human being
Yeah.
bare fist, and you're doing so on concrete with blades on your feet.
And getting paid for it.
Yeah.
Like what? And
Josh, like, I got a whole career paid.
bro, would you throw a punch at me if I was wearing a hockey helmet?
Break
Depends
your
on
hand
the
right away.
situation.
Break your hand right away.
Break your hand.
Depends on how much you owe me, my boy.
I mean, a lot of them would, take off their helmet and gloves.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
A lot of them, they don't. And they
Yeah, the gentleman way. The
just-
gentleman ways. And then they settle it. And but it's funny in hockey. I'm going off subject, but it's funny in hockey. Like when you hear them mic'd up, like right before their fight, they're like, "Hey, Josh, you want to go? You want to do this?
Yeah, very calm. Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, no problem. Puck drops. Let's go. Yeah. Take like, as if like they're having a coffee, bro. Like they
Yeah.
fight as if they're having coffee. These guys are different athletes, bro.
I have a
But-
question for you, Brandon. After like college wrestling, and like let's say you're at the highest level of college wrestling, what's next for that person?
Coaching.
Let's say let's say you won, this and that. Is it just coaching, seminars? Is it what you do? Is
UFC, bro.
it UFC?
MMA.
Yeah, UFC.
Like look
is
at
that the
Bo
new thing now?
Nichols, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Like, is there a business in wrestling itself? Like after you finish college and like you're the top prospect and you
Tell them about the movie you're thinking about.
Foxcatcher?
You know that movie?
yeah. So Yeah, like most of the time for the best of the best guys, like the 1%ers, they do like a 4-year cycle. It's called it's an Olympic cycle. So every 4 years there's the Olympics.
Okay.
So most of the best guys, including Bo, what they do is after college they'll keep wrestling until the next Olympics. Some people keep going because they start to get sponsorships and stuff, but they won't do any business. They won't do anything. All they'll do is wrestle and get paid through sponsors. And they'll just train for so there's world championships for 3 years in a row, and then on the 4th year it's the Olympic
But let's say
championship.
you graduated college.
Yeah,
can you still train?
This is all after college.
Okay.
So you still train in the facility with the guys.
No.
Bo is not allowed to wrestle at Penn State.
Yes, he is. So the thing is, there's rules. So these are things called RTCs, regional training centers.
Yes.
So at Penn State, he doesn't train with Penn State. He trains with the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club.
Yes, you're right.
So RTC guys cannot go train with the college guys, but the college guys can go train with the RTC guys.
Yeah.
And there's bylaws. So the thing is like most of the big Division I schools have RTCs, regional training centers.
Yeah.
Because of these regional training centers and so many of the people funding them behind the scenes, someone like Bo is going to be getting paid like name the number, like a good salary, not rich, but like a good salary from the RTC.
Yeah.
So you could say, hey, Jad, I'll pay you $50K a year to just train at the RTC. Now that doesn't sound like a lot to you, but for a lot of wrestlers, they're like, oh, I'm making $50K a year for fucking just to wrestle. So a lot of people will do that for like 4 years. Some guys make more than others.
Plus sponsorship,
plus sponsorships, et cetera, and all you're doing is training all year and then going and competing out of the country. But you're not with the college kids.
Right.
It's two different sports. It's freestyle
But
and
is that
folk
like
style.
the
1%ers
1%ers of
No.
wrestlers?
No, a lot of guys do that.
Okay. So it's
No.
not
A
like
lot of guys,
the-
anybody that wants to qualify for Worlds after, anybody who wrestles,
Anyone who wants
to qualify for Worlds or the Olympics after wrestling is going to go to an RTC.
It's a very big misconception that it only has to be the best guys.
So what the only thing the best guys would have more would be like sponsorships, right?
yeah, some guys get big sponsorships.
Okay.
So
Like Jordan Bros and Nike, no?
yeah, so
Okay.
but you have to build to that, right? So now let's say the guys who don't want to do like I did not want, like I have friends who wrestled in the NAI who went and did this. Like one of my really good friends, Saran, he went to the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club and stayed there for like 6 years. He did pretty good. But there's some guys who just don't want to do that. Like I just did not. I had no passion after my last wrestling match. It's like I never want to have a wrestling match again. I didn't feel like doing it.
On to new things.
Yeah, it was really just on to new things. So then there's coaching, but coaching is shit all. Like here's the thing. For every coaching job, there's 100,000 wrestlers a year that are graduating.
Right.
That sounds like it's a big number. It's not. So for every one job, you have 100,000 potential people that could get that one job.
Okay.
And this is not even Division I schools. That's talking about people going to D3 schools,
Yeah.
NAI schools.
Yeah.
Now go to a Division I school. David Taylor just got a job at Oklahoma State. That job has been held down for 35 years
By the same
by
guy
John
before?
Smith.
Yeah.
So if you want to know how hard it is to get a good paying wrestling job,
Yeah. Ask
it's
him.
not easy.
Yeah.
Now, say you're trying to go to a JUCO school to get a job. Fucking good luck. They might let you be a volunteer assistant coach where they pay you a stipend for like, maybe you make like $10,000 a season. But like a true like, hey, I'm a college wrestling coach, good fucking luck. Because you know what they're going to tell you? Because I try to do this. They're going to be like, all right, we need you to get more experience. You're like, okay, well, how am I supposed to get experience? Well, you get a job coaching. You're like, I can't because everyone tells me I need to get experience. So it's one of these things where like, if you want to be a college wrestling coach, here's the path. You graduate from your college, you get a master's degree and become a grad assistant, meaning you're not getting paid to coach, but you're getting your master's degree paid for while coaching.
Yeah.
You become a grad assistant, then you graduate from your grad program, become a volunteer assistant.
Yeah.
So now you've already got like
3 years.
3 or 4 years. You're a volunteer
All
assistant.
volunteer,
Yeah, exactly. And
But
then,
I think I saw that Miles Amin.
that's
That's
what
when he
happens.
did it, yeah.
Yeah.
Because he was like 27 still training in the fucking wrestling room. I was like,
Yeah.
Then I Googled it, he was doing his second master's or
Yes,
something like
yes. So exactly, and it's like, so you become a volunteer assistant. Maybe you get a little salary depending on where you're at, but it's not very much. And then you hope that now that you're a volunteer assistant, a couple of years are over, you're not guaranteed to get a job at that school that you're at. So let's say Lindsey Wilson, because I went there. Let's say I did it all. I got my grad degree and then I was a volunteer assistant. Let's say I was coaching for 5 years. there's no guarantee that I'm going to get a job at Lindsey Wilson. My 5 years are going to end, and they're going to be like,
Ciao.
see you later. And then you have to apply for a job. And then let's assume this: there's 5 divisions in wrestling, right? Division 1, D2, D3, NAI, JUCO, right? There's almost no jobs in all 5 divisions. All 5 divisions, almost 1,000 schools. So you have to hope that you get lucky, that you can get one of the jobs that pays a normal salary. Some of these jobs, like if you go to a JUCO school, they might pay you $15,000 a year to be an assistant coach. So the only jobs that are available are the really shitty, horrible jobs.
Right.
And even those jobs will say you don't have enough experience. So now imagine trying to get one of the head coaching jobs where you're actually making a good amount of money, like
Awesome.
$75,000.
Virtually,
Yeah.
of course they're gonna take David Taylor.
Exactly.
Like, bro,
So
the top 1% of the 1%.
exactly, and again, let's say you take off the top. Let's take away D1. Getting a job from D2 to JUCO, meaning D3 and AIA included. Good luck getting a job that's an actual assistant or an actual head coaching job without 5 years of experience as a volunteer. Because I tried. I was like, all right, I'm a 3-time national champ in the NAIA. It should be easy for me to get a job in the NAIA. I'm not trying to get a job in Division 1. I'm trying to get a job in the NAIA. This shit should be easy.
Especially if you won it 3 fucking times.
Yeah. And so I tried. I had like 5 interviews with different schools, and people were just like, "Oh, sorry, you just don't have enough experience." Yeah, that's it. And so it's very hard to actually get a really good coaching job unless you're willing to eat shit for 5 years. And then here's the thing about eating shit for 5 years: you're not allowed to work another job. It's legal.
You can't have 2 jobs.
You're not allowed.
So I have to die.
Oh, because the school
So
technically
one of my coaches, the assistant coaches, he doesn't coach anymore. His name's Myron Bradbury. On the side, he secretly would like cut grass, but he had to keep it on the DL because if they found out that he was making that extra like $15,000 a year, he would be fired. So all while doing this, you're not allowed to have a side hustle.
That's crazy.
So now
How
tell
do
me.
you guys eat?
So
I don't know for $20,000 a year, but what the
dude,
fuck?
half the people were eating in the school cafeteria, bro. As a full-on adults, eating this shit.
You can't raise a family.
No, you can't. So I get asked this question all the time. Why didn't you become a college wrestling coach, bro? I tried, but I was not, because I told you about Tom on being entrepreneurial and like my head was like, I'm not gonna wait 5 years to start making the bare minimum amount of money, because even when you get these coaching jobs, you start at like $35,000 a year. My coach, Coach Corey Ruff, he'll tell you this. He started out making like $30K. By his 10th year, his final year at Lindsey Wilson, my last year at college, he was making around $65K.
10 years for $35K raise.
He left. He left. And he got paid a lot more at his new school. I'm not going to say the number because that's not,
Yeah, it's not.
But he left, went to a new school, got paid a shit ton more because the ceiling is so low. So you have to hope that a new job opens up and that there's new people back in the school. And
well, good for him, man.
Yeah, he built the program, But so again, just to answer, because I always get asked, why didn't you become a college wrestling coach? I tried. I saw that there was no money in it, and then after I saw that there was no money in it, I started to do my own business. I immediately, my first business was just wrestling privates. So I would do 20 private lessons a week at $30. So it'd be 20 times 30, so they're making about $600 a week. I did that for a year, and then eventually,
that's more money than your fucking coaches.
Yeah, I was making more money than my coaches doing private lessons. It sucked though because there was so much in-person stuff.
Yeah, you get tired.
Then I got burned out, and I was working a couple part-time jobs here. I was like security at that old college.
Yeah.
I was working at a coffee shop. But the good thing about this is I was allowed to do that stuff and do my side hustle.
Right.
So I was making pretty decent money. But then I was like, fuck this. I got into doing like actual digital marketing and writing emails because of this guy named James Smith who kind of helped mentor me through it a little bit, and then Chewy, and then my girlfriend helped me with a lot of stuff. I dropped my first instructional, and then in like the first week I sold like 200 copies of my first instructional. I quit everything else. I stopped doing private lessons, and then I went full in on instructionals, and that was 3 years ago, and now it's like, it's killing. I don't do instructionals like the BJJ Fanatic guys do it. I don't do that's good. I do email marketing. So I post stuff on Instagram and stuff here, but that's not really what gets me my leads. Usually what gets me leads is I get people who click on stuff and then they get sent to my email list. And then people who get on my email list, they read my emails daily. They buy instructionals. I've had people who have said, I've been on your email list for 3 years and I finally bought an instructional. That's the power of an email list. It's like you get the chance to connect with people. So I started an email list. Yeah, it's actually going on 4 years doing email marketing. Now I do seminars, like seminar tours.
Yeah.
Very successful seminar too.
Yeah. So it's crazy. So I could have, by the time that I've done this, it's been 4 years since I graduated, I still would not have a $30,000 job.
Wow.
Now I'm making way
Went
more
for a college
than,
coaching job, right?
Yeah, I'm making way more than D2 head coaches.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's the problem with wrestling. And me being as entrepreneurial as I was like, I started off really small, bro. I started off very, very small. And then eventually became, most people were like, oh, bro, you're so lucky.
No.
You're like, no, bro, it's not because I won an NAI title that people, bro, NAI title means nothing compared to a Division I title.
Absolutely.
So no one's buying my shit because I'm an NAI national champion.
No.
It's because I'm hustling.
They buy your shit because you give a good product.
I give a good
Because
product.
it's been 3-4 years that you've been emailing them. And
Yeah.
So they've
Yeah.
been seeing you
But
for
what
the
I mean
past
by that
4
is
years.
you
Yeah,
can
the
do
product's
you can
good.
do the marketing as
No,
much
for
as
sure.
you want.
But it's a you're absolutely right. But it's a combination, right? So the product can be extremely good, one of the best. If it's not marketed well,
Of course.
you're not going to get the
But vice
reach.
versa as well.
Vice versa as well.
Yeah.
So he offers a good product
And great marketing.
and great marketing.
So yeah, the video just be you.
Yeah, and it's
But it's the same thing
And
with me here,
consistency,
bro.
right?
I used to
It's
get
been
classes.
4 years that
Consistency.
Yeah, and it's value on return, right? Chewy, he gave me this great thing. He was like, if you give people value, they'll give it back. And so, what is the value that I've been giving? So when I first started doing Instagram, I wasn't doing reels. I started doing the whole Instagram post daily 4 years ago. What I was doing is I would just write posts, right? This is before I met any of you guys. I would just take a picture, I would write a post like, oh, this is something, like this is a mindset thing. I did that for a year, and then reels became a thing. And then I started recording, and then I would just post a reel every day. And now, like, it became a thing where now I'm posting 2 or 3 reels every single day. And those reels, I'm not fucking doing it for the clout like the fucking dumbass that we talked about earlier. I'm doing it because it's a lead magnet. I create reels so people can go to my page and they click my links. I don't care if they click the links to buy the instructions. The link I care about is if they subscribe to my email list. So now all of my stuff, it's not here to get clout. Man, I had such a good coach who talked about who cares about those numbers. The numbers are fake. 120. Who gives a fuck about that? Half those people don't even see your shit.
Facts.
What matters is how many of those people are you getting onto your email list.
What matters, bro, is the money in your motherfucking pockets, bro.
Yes.
You can have 120,000 million
It
likes on a
doesn't
fucking reel and make
matter,
$0.
bro. There's a lot of what I always try to say is like there's a difference between all these like influencers. I don't consider myself an influencer. I'm an email marketer. I influence to get my email marketing up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I make my money. I have like a full-time career, a full salary. I could just stop doing stuff. I don't have to teach. Everyone's like, oh, why do you teach 450 or H2O? It's like, I don't do it for the money. I don't need the money. I can teach for free.
Yeah, for sure.
But I love it.
Can you?
Yeah,
You do it for the community.
yeah,
the
but
sport itself.
yeah, but it's like a good place to be in,
course,
right?
Bob
Whereas
Jones,
when
yeah.
I was trying to be a coach, I was trying to do it for the money.
Yeah.
That's like, so it's like it's kind of gone full circle to where it's like I always tell people it's like my biggest piece of advice for people who want to do the content stuff is wait to do the content, develop some level of email marketing skills, right? And maybe you can start doing them together, right? Posting something's better than posting nothing, but do not post and wait for your hot streak to pass before you get your email list. So I always say I would think it was the end of 2022 was probably my best analytics. Like if you looked at analytics, that's the best time. At the end of 2022, I probably gained the most people on my email list. The people from 2022 are paying me my salary for 2025. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
3 years later.
yeah, so exactly. So the issue is a lot of people will get on Instagram, they get popular, they blow up because that's how Instagram is. If you post a lot, you're going to gain followers. But a lot of people don't. They don't take advantage of that, the hot streak. So everyone, if some random Joe on the street decided to start posting him hammering nails on walls, at some point, if he did that every day, he's going to have 40,000 followers. It's like his ass better be selling a hammer
Somewhere, or nails,
Yeah.
or a fucking instructional on how to hammer.
And literally, and it's like, it sounds stupid because anyone can do it, no one's special, but a lot of people, what they do is, a big mistake that people make is they do a lot of content, but they're doing it for the wrong reasons. They're doing it to get the clout, to get the affirmation. But you're like, that affirmation doesn't mean shit if you still have to work at a coffee shop.
100%.
So what I always tell people is like, do the Instagram stuff, but you need to make sure,
Convert it.
Yes, you need to be converting it. And God, for all my jiu-jitsu people, do not do JJ Fanatics. It is the biggest scam in the world. Think about what JJ Fanatics does. They sell your instructional. They get 30% of your instructional. And then after that 30%, Uncle Sam, if you're in Canada, gets 50% of that 70%. Now you're left with 35%. Hopefully you're saving some of that money or investing it. So now what? You have 15% to actually spend. You're poor. Don't fucking do that. Learn a skill. It takes maybe it takes a month. Hire a coach. Ask someone to help you how to create a website, upload your own shit, do your own shit. And then even after Uncle Sam takes your 50%, you still have 50%.
Yeah.
You know, and
You don't have
BJJ
17,
Fanatics
50.
isn't in your pockets. And then not only that, a really bad thing about Fanatics as someone who actually understands like at least the email business, BJJ Fanatics will not allow you to get the emails from the people who buy your instructionals. So if I buy an instructional from you and you're on Fanatics, I can't follow up with you. I can't email you and be like, hey Jad, how'd you like that instructional?
Right.
Is it good? If you like that instructional, here's another one for $20 off.
Or-
Fanatics.
That means also that the same person who's doing the person that is doing the same thing as you has the same reach.
Yes.
It's the same people that are
Yes,
receiving the emails.
exactly.
It's not your email.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And
BJJ
again,
Fanatics is getting the email, so
Exactly.
whenever anybody else is making a DVD, they'll send that DVD to that same person that brought yours.
Exactly. So it's not your.
You're not doing
email,
anything, they're just
font
taking-
or
yeah.
whatever. you
Yes,
know?
and think about this. My best-selling instructional, I think it has like 1,200 copies sold right now. It's Dominate the Hand Fight. I came out with that instructional 3.5 years ago. An instructional on BJJ Fanatics, after the first couple months, they died. Gordon has done the same instructional 6 times.
Yeah.
Because even if you're Gordon Ryan, they're not going to be pushing your stuff every single day
Exactly.
in their emails. Now, me, I can push hand fighting for the rest of my life. I guarantee I can do that. And I don't ever have to film another hand fighting instructional. Why? Because it's not like I'm throwing fucking shit on the wall and hoping it sticks.
No.
I'm directly talking to you. I'm the guy that you come to ask the question, Brandon, Brandon, what do I do what do I do if I get hurt wrestling? I'll be like, I can't shoot anymore, but I still want to wrestle. Hey, no problem, bro. I got a good idea. How about you learn how to hand fight? I can help you do this. Matter of fact, here's a discount code for 15% on my website. I can do that. On Fanatics, you can't do that.
Yeah.
That's how you win over half of your clients. or
That's
whatever.
smart.
Because if you go on BJJ Fanatics, I've never been on it, but what you're saying is that so you're competing with 40 other guys to the
40?
same. I don't know.
400?
Yeah, 400.
I don't know. So let's say 400 other guys to the same people. You're selling let's say a similar product to the same people.
And you're
which
not-
is if you
and
have
imagine-
your own email pod, you're the only person that he's receiving emails from. He might receive from other people, but it's not like a community of BJJ Fanatics where there's 400.
And
you're
bro,
not competing
imagine
with 400 people. You might be competing with 10 or 15, let's
The
say.
400
Which is way
people,
better,
a lot of different people bought.
yeah.
So BJJ Fanatics has the emails of 400 different people, fan base.
Yes.
Come out. Gordon Ryan doesn't have necessarily the same fan base as, let's say, Owen O'Flanagan.
No.
But BJJ Fanatics have the email list
yeah.
of Gordon and of Owen O'Flanagan and of Craig
So
Jones.
I think that's what they're selling to
But the difference
you,
is-
right? They're selling,
Volume. They're selling
we have-
volume.
But
Yeah, exactly.
also, as an athlete,
It's so fake, though.
but the difference is the difference in what you did, and when you talk about this, I think about for us, right? Because for us,
Yeah,
it's
Jiu-Jitsu club.
professionals and Jiu-Jitsu club, right? So I agree 100% with all you're saying. My only, to play devil's advocate, right? My only thing I would say is, let's say I'm an athlete. I just won fucking worlds and pads. I had a great year. I won trials. Had a great year. I want to put out my first instruction, right? You built, took you years. You built an email list. You did, email marketing. You built all these things. It took you a long time. Maybe at first you weren't generating that much income, but you built it. You learned a new skill. You built it. You did it over time. For me, maybe I don't have those skills. I don't have time to build it. I just want to put it out there, try to make some money. In that scenario, perhaps,
I think it's a bad habit. I think it's lazy, and I think 5 years from now, if you're someone who does that, you're gonna hate yourself for it when you realize how much money you're losing. So I think it's better to struggle at first and feel really good 4 years later than to try to rush to the thing, right? It's easy to eat McDonald's. It takes some time to cook steak, right? It's very different. It's the same thing with your instructionals. It's very easy to get on BJJ Fanatics. They have no qualifications, right? And the biggest thing that sells instructionals is not you winning titles, it's you becoming a person to these people.
Yeah.
If you become Chewy, for us, no one can name any of their accomplishments. but they've watched their videos. Me, I don't have any of my accomplishments in my bio on Instagram. I don't have any of my accomplishments.
Also, in your defense, you weren't a world champ, Pan Am champ, or ADCC
Before
competitor when
any-
you were making money.
Yeah, so I think the thing is I think you have to be able to think long term. It's like we talked about investments earlier. You need to invest in yourself because at some point, yeah, they're helping you out right now, but then they're gonna fuck you. And you
Yeah, and I think you said it's a marketing game.
They're gonna fuck you. Like
Pause.
like and then if you actually hear the shady shit that BJJ Fanatics does, like they have specific deals with Gordon, so he's making more money.
Of course.
Then like, and it's, you're just like whatever. If you're at Gordon's level, maybe it makes sense. But if you're someone, we can't all be Gordon Ryan. We cannot all be Gordon Ryan. And like
You can grab a test or grab a GH.
yeah, yeah.
But it's marketing skills. You said it.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, your jiu-jitsu skills can only take you so far in terms of selling instruction.
It means nothing because how many black belt world champions are there a year? There's like 50. So, like when you do masters, divisions, everything. So everyone can say, I'm a black belt world champion. So it's like, it's really kind of a diluted market. Now say who's a world champion? Well, that's blued all the way to black. Now you have 200. So it doesn't matter how many ADCC veterans are there. There's 100. Every time there's an ADCC, how many people?
You know how many of them are broke?
Yeah, exactly. So my thing is like, I would not bet on tournaments to make you better or to help sell things. I would say after you've built an audience, after you've been an email list and you've created relationships with people who actually care when you win, that's different, right? So if you win before anyone fucking cares about you, it doesn't matter. But if you make it, when I go to tournaments, I literally can't walk anywhere without someone randomly being like, bro, I watch your YouTube videos, I watch your Instagram, I'm on your email. Dude, at Worlds, I couldn't even warm up, bro.
Right,
It
trials,
was crazy.
remember?
Yeah, at trials, it's crazy, bro. I can't walk anywhere without someone being like, dude, I've been on your email list for you. Those people, win or lose, are gonna buy your shit. No one else cares. Like, so if they don't see you as a person, because there's a difference between being someone who has a lot of followers on Instagram and being a person to those people. It's a huge difference. You buy from people you like, not from people you just see.
Yeah,
on
that's
Instagram.
true.
It's
And
just
you
like
still
You
did
interact with them as well.
Yeah.
So they'll
That
reach
goes
out
for
Of course, but he does a Q&A almost every day on Instagram. He answers people's questions.
that goes for any business, right?
Yeah.
It goes for anything, in the world.
Well, that's why I said, why do I like coming to 450? Because I feel like I have friends. I'm like, oh, okay, I like to come here. I have a good relationship with people. I want to keep coming back. You could go, okay, yeah, if you go to Homa, there's all these big guys that are like brown or black belts. Homa's a great gym, but I don't have a relationship with those guys.
Right.
They're amazing guys. They're super awesome. But for me, it's not the same, I don't have that relationship like I have with Jad, or now I have with the students. So it's not saying
Yeah, that's also people gravitate towards you.
Yeah, so
like especially here, people
Yeah.
gravitate to you a lot.
Yeah, so you want to gravitate towards something that makes you feel a personal connection. So it's like the product might, and I'm just using Homa as an example, the product might be just as good because it's such an amazing gym, right? But it's not about the product, it's about what connection you have to the
Right,
product.
yes.
So that's the big difference between having like an email list and having your own instructionals and being able to communicate with those people daily. I write emails 5 days a week. My open rate is really good. People are like, it only takes one email that resonates with someone in order to make them connect with you. I wrote an email about a Pokeball on how you should treat your Jiu-Jitsu game like a Pokeball. The guy bought 5 instructionals off that email. That was a $500 email. I just connected it because this guy was like, I love Pokeballs. This was a good analogy. This was a 3-paragraph, very short email. He loved it. The dude spent $500 like this.
100%.
Because I wrote something
That's
that
sales in
connected to
general.
him.
I feel like sales in
Yeah.
general is likability.
Yeah,
I like you, I buy it.
and
I don't
I
like
connect
you.
to
person
it.
driving
Listen,
the
guys, we're telling you, get ready. You guys gonna get those email, okay?
Yeah, 450
It's coming.
Jiu-Jitsu.
The
You're
emails
getting
are
an
coming.
email list, my boy.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk Pokeball, avocado rolls, and whatever the fuck else you guys like to eat. You heard?
Yeah, no, it's
Brandon, it was a pleasure to have you.
yeah.
Thank you so much, bro. If you have any
Thank you
shout
for
outs, you
coming.
want to shout out your Instagram, your website.
Shout out 450 Jiu-Jitsu.
Shout out 450 Jiu-Jitsu.
What's
That's
in
my
store for you
dog.
in 2025?
Bye.
Making money.
Let's go. Making money winning medals.
Yeah,
Making
that's
money
it.
winning medals and just chilling. Coming from us at 450 Jiu-Jitsu, we're very grateful. We love you.
Very grateful.
I have a great relationship with you, bro. I cherish it a lot. And, you're a great guy. Everybody here at the gym loves you. Your class is amazing. You always have a home here. That being said, I still want to fuck you up on my roll. And I think that's really good for my jiu-jitsu and yours.
Yes.
Because we have a highly competitive technical round, and we appreciate each other's level of jiu-jitsu. And from all our students, all of us here, trust me when I ask them, they're very grateful to have you as a wrestling coach, bro. It doesn't go unnoticed, bro. I know sometimes there's not a lot of people in class, sometimes there is, but that's just how class goes, bro.
Yeah,
but the academy, bro, is very grateful for you and to have you at this academy, so thank you so much. Shout out to you.
Guys, every Tuesday, tous les mardis.
7h15, 7:15
Glad
with
to
this
have a
guy.
fellow American here.
Yeah, it's true, he's an American, that's true. That's true, it's glad to have a fellow American in here. But yeah, guys, Tuesdays, guys, les mardis, 7h15, champion national de lutte. Ok, il est là, il est en personne.